Good morning, Steve. Doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing well as far as I know.
Great, great.
Well, cases capture national attention for odd reasons. I don't know exactly what put this one there, but
I don't either, really.
Gabby Petito has become just a part of conversation, some of it daily for people, and I guess maybe because they were posting on video and whatever, but it got they're missing people all across this country today, right?
Yeah.
But she became a fixture out there almost.
Right, she did.
Just this story. And then when her boyfriend returns home and she's not with him, it's like, okay, how was this handled when you're an investigator? Because apparently he was home for several hours, or his parents parked his car in front of their house to make it look like he was there. Or that's what was assumed, that he was there, and he wasn't.
Well, I don't know. You know, we've got a neighbor now. I saw him interview a couple, man and woman live with a neighbor, and they talk about him being out in the yard. They saw him.
Oh, so they saw it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just totally fake.
No, I just heard that I just saw him interview people last night. Yeah.
At what point does an investigative team move in then in a situation?
Well, you got to have a reason to move in first.
Right.
You know, you got certainly until they found her body.
Okay.
She was a missing person, and she was an adult. If she wanted to go to Mexico, she could go. Okay. Not against the law. You know, you got to have reasons to do things.
And so it's finding a body really before you get confirmation enough to say, okay, we got to move on this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, I mean, you know, you just can't do it. And people are jumping on now they're on the officers out in Utah. So they should have arrested somebody. Well, I actually looked up the Utah domestic violence laws.
Okay.
And it's similar to ours. You got, you know, somebody called in and said.
Okay. They were fighting.
We saw them slapping or something like that. That's reasonable suspicion to stop that car. Gave them a tag number, I think.
Okay.
They stopped the car.
All right.
When they stopped the car, the girl said, "Look, whatever happened was my fault. The only mark that was seen was on him.
Okay.
No evidence on her. You got no evidence and everybody involved is saying, look, nothing happened. You know, she says I'm a little ODC or OCD or whatever.
Okay.
And it was my fault. So, you know, what are you going to arrest them?
Okay.
Where's your witnesses?
All right.
You know.
So you're saying that was all when you looked at the law?
Well, it said when you look at the law, it says such things as what would a reasonable officer do, and this and that, and you know those things are very vague.
But when he comes back and she's not with him, okay, but that of course that raises suspicion. But then you say that's not grounds to move in.
Well, you don't have to. You ain't got to talk to police.
That's right.
You know,
okay. He didn't have to.
If your wife doesn't come home today, and police say, "Where's Pam?" You say, "I got to talk to you." What do you mean? Go ask Pam.
Okay.
You police can't force you. You know, it's different now. Of course, they're calling a person of interest. You know, whatever.
Yeah, he still hasn't been identified as a suspect. Officially.
Yeah, and that's a sort of legal technical thing.
Okay.
You know, if you identify someone as a suspect, it changes things.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It changes.
What does it change?
Well, one thing that it changes the way Miranda is.
It's handled.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, such thing as that.
And well, the search is still on for him.
It is, and we did. I don't think I told
that one day they called it off and they searched his parents' house. You know, that was kind of caught everybody kind of off guard.
The day after they found the body.
Okay. Yeah.
And they hauled stuff out of there. And I will promise you, when they started hauling stuff out, the parents don't know today exactly what they were looking for.
Okay.
Because they haul things in and out. Yeah. We don't know what they found at the crime scene, Steve. Maybe they're looking for a sample of his DNA. Maybe they found a murder weapon at the crime scene. Okay. Who knows? You know, I don't know.
Have they said how she was killed?
No. And I hope they probably won't.
Okay.
You keep things to yourself, so if somebody does start talking.
Okay, you know.
Yeah, and you know, it could be a third person. They could find somebody else's DNA in that van.
Okay.
Who knows? Wow. And we put on our podcast and on our YouTube TV channel both.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's been posting about this at Tennessee Underground on Facebook and at tugnews.com. Tugnews.com and Tennessee Underground on Facebook.
Right, and we got a piece on there about the surveillance. People are talking about they should have been running surveillance on. We go in depth with that and why it probably didn't.
So check those conversations with Jimmy Leach once again. They're posted on Facebook at Tennessee Underground or tugnews.com. Talk about Metro Police in Nashville, and you say something that should be understood. They had an officer killed there. That this is a private police force.
No, it's in D.C.
D.C. Yeah, what did I say?
Washington D.C.
Yeah, Washington D.C. Yeah, okay.
Washington.
All right. So what is it? I didn't know we had private police forces.
Well, we do. I knew. Like I think we may have talked once before, a year or two ago on the show. Back in 1983, when I went to the FBI National Academy, one of the best friends there was a guy named Ron Schmiel, and he was the regional police department in York, Pennsylvania. And it was like several suburbs or whatever.
So it's a private company that contracts to provide police services.
But they're licensed by the state, and I believe FedEx in Memphis has their own police force.
Okay.
But in D.C., They have it, and
So this is the Metro Police Department, but it's a private police department.
well, it doesn't say what territory they cover.
Cover.
I guess they cover your territory if you pay them money.
So we got Capitol Hill Police, which is one thing, and then we got our.
DC Police, and
Wow.
and I don't know that that's the only company up there.
So what happened? This officer was killed there.
Yeah, and all it says is that that they went to a building, some kind of suspicious activity, or whatever, and somebody in a Camry shot him and killed him.
Okay. Wow.
And escaped, and they're looking for the Camry, and that's really all that they've said.
You know, I had Houston, Texas the other day. Officers out to serve a warrant on a drug suspect, and he opened fire on them. They killed him, and he killed one of the officers and wounded another. And they said, as you say, there's no routine.
Well, we got another one on there, Independence, Missouri.
Okay.
Officer, these two officers. All it says is they got a call that there was something going on in the neighborhood. That's
Okay.
all they've released.
Wow.
And two officers went to a home. Guy met them with a handgun, shot and killed one officer, injured the other one, and that officer returned fire and killed a suspect.
Okay.
And you know, it wasn't a major call at all.
Well, you got another incident here where a football game.
Yeah, that's
Violence at a football game.
Pennsylvania, and they had two high school teams football game, and the crowd was leaving. The game was over. Crowd was leaving. They said it was about a couple hundred people probably, and they were leaving, and they had a drive-by shooting. My car came by and opened fire,
Okay.
and there were I think there's 3 or 4 police officers there, you know, observing the crowd. You know,
Right.
We have to watch the crowds when they're leaving these games because
Yeah.
they're gangs, and that's probably
Right, yeah.
maybe what this. I don't know, but anyway, they started shooting. Some people got hit. Police returned fire.
So they started returning fire.
Yeah, and this child got hit, and
Wow.
this thing is
Did it kill the child?
It's killed a child, 8-year-old child. I think 3 others got hit, and they're saying that the police return fire may have been what hit the child.
Whoa.
Now, but that was like 3 weeks ago. Evidently, they hadn't got ballistics done yet or whatever, because I couldn't find anything more recent than
Wow.
that.
In that case, then, what's the responsibility? I mean,
Well, those things are so dynamic, Steve. So much is happening so quick, and they train us to try and be
aware of your surroundings.
aware of what's behind that target, in case you miss that target.
Right.
You know, at 9 o'clock at night,
Okay.
and all those people, and you know, there was pandemonium once the guns started going off. Plus, I'm going to tell you something else too. If you've never done this, you wouldn't think about it. But in darkness or semi-darkness, either one, when those guns start going off, the muzzle flash is blinding for just
Okay.
for an instant. If you got a bunch of guns going off, you got a bunch of muzzle flashes going off.
Okay.
Distorts your vision to some extent.
I had an interesting thing recently. I was, at a funeral service. The lights on the speaker stand were on, and they were. It was a bright light. I mean, it wasn't. But I was looking through that for a while, and when it came time to stand up and speak, I looked down and I couldn't read my
Is that right?
notes because that was on
pupils
my eye.
yeah.
I had adjusted, and so that beam was in mine. I thought, well, you dummy, you shouldn't have been doing that. You know, you should have known better than that. But I didn't realize. But your vision can go away.
Oh yeah.
Jimmy, before we get away, Jimmy Leach, the investigator, with us, and once again, this will be posted, and his observations and reports on the Gabby Petito case are all at Tug News on the internet and Tennessee Underground on Facebook. So check that out. Senator Cory Booker came out yesterday, and he'd been one of those involved in the negotiations. This initiative to reform police departments and all this other stuff, criminal justice, at the federal level had broken down. They are not able to reach agreement, and all of this was initiated because of George Floyd's death and the reaction to that. That was kind of universal, I think, in this country. That there needed to be a look at all this. But we've gone now from defund police and all this other stuff. It looks like we're backing away from this now.
And you know, we talked about it when this first started, and I think we all felt it would happen probably.
Okay.
It happened quicker, thankfully, than I thought. Now, the thing they got going in Minneapolis, which, like you mentioned, George Floyd.
Yeah.
Minneapolis is the hot seat
Right.
where it all began, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, they just did a poll. Remember, we talked a couple weeks ago. They got a bill they put on. They were trying to pass up there to basically defund the police department.
Yes.
And they did a poll, and it particularly asked African Americans. 75% of the African Americans in Minneapolis in that poll, the answer to that poll said, "Do not defund the police. We need more police."
Okay.
they're the ones that suffer. Steve.
So,
And I think
so it's this balancing act that we're
Yeah.
doing. But there's no initiative apparently that's going to be coming at the federal level, because there was real concern when the federal government starts taking over local law enforcement, or starts passing laws
Yeah.
that might influence that. As we have local law and county law and state law and federal law.
And the feds came out with some things, and most, I think that's just gonna apply to Fed officers, and it's nothing. Whether it's talking about chokeholds and no-knock warrants,
Right, okay.
and it doesn't really say anything. It says unless your supervisor approves and that kind of thing.
All right, so we'll see how this
Yeah.
settles out. Before we get away, the Murdaugh case in South Carolina.
It's just crazy. One thing, and I know these folks are doing this up there, but we got a double homicide that started this. Don't lose focus on the double homicide.
Okay.
But it seems like this is just a seem like you can't work a murder case over the media.
Okay.
But there sure is a lot of talk about money. And I have yet to hear if the wife that was, wife and son were the first who got killed. I've yet to hear if there was any insurance policies on those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll continue to follow that. Jimmy Leach, the investigator, with us. This is Blue Suede Forever.